questions were raised when the Eastern Cape produced scooters as ambulances. People were to be carried in the sidecars. Now the scooter tender has been declared unlawful following an investigation by the Special Investigating Unit, or SIU. Last Friday, the Special Tribunal ordered that the decision to award that tender to Fabkomp to deliver 100 scooters at a cost of more than 10 million rand be reviewed and set aside. To discuss, we're joined now by the spokesperson of the tribunal, Advocate Selby Makgato. We are also hoping to chat soon to the MD of Fabkomp, Brian Harmser, who says that the fight is far from over and they will sue. Advocate, thank you for being with us. Let's first start with what was found, and let's remind viewers that this was COVID-19 funding that was used. So was it all a colossal waste?
Thank you very much. Good evening, and good evening to the viewers, and thanks indeed for having us. Let me indicate that the matter was actually first brought to the Special Tribunal on the 18th of September 2020 by the Special Investigating Unit, seeking an urgent order and relief to the effect that the respondents, that was the MEC, the head of the department, the CFO, and Fabkomp, to the effect that the order ought to be, the respondents needed to be interdicted. In the main, it was the Department of Health in the Eastern Cape that was to be interdicted from further rolling out the tender. The order was duly granted as a result of the submissions at the time by the SIU to the Special Tribunal. Fast forward to today, where we are now, or maybe before that, it was also indicated at the time that that was part of the application. It was divided into two parts. The first one was to interdict the department from further rolling it out and to interdict it from effecting any payment. But secondly, to look at the procedural fairness in as far as the whole supply chain management process flow is concerned. And when the matter ultimately came back with part two in the main, where ultimately it was reviewed and set aside, a case was set out before the Special Tribunal to the effect that there were allegations of irregularities in the manner in which the supply chain process had been done. There were allegations, of course, to the effect that there was no fairness, there was no equitable, transparent, no cost-effective compliance that was followed. So the main legislative framework, in as far as the rollout of the tender was concerned, is what was the subject of adjudication before the Special Tribunal.
Okay, so that's a long explanation. Right now, I understand that the department can't make any more payments in relation to this tender, but how much has already been paid?
Based on the evidence before the Special Tribunal, no money has been paid. Yes, as I earlier on, as per the first order, there was an interdict to the department to not to make any payment in the 10,1 scooter project. So that being the case, no money has been spent, and the understanding at the time was that the department was interdicted, and so there was no money that was being paid. And even as we speak now, no money has been paid based on the records before the tribunal.
Okay, I think many people will think that is good news. Now, the investigation found that the process was unlawful, full of dishonesty, according to reports, possible collusion, and it was designed to favour Fabkomp. So it doesn't sound like this was just a mistake, but you can't really find evidence of collusion. Is that correct?
Well, based on the pleadings that have been submitted before the tribunal, as I said, that there were quite a number of allegations, but I must indicate that the Special Tribunal did not make any adverse finding in relation to the fourth respondent being Fabkomp Pty Ltd. We think that if it was in the interest of justice that the case be set, it would have been listened to and it would have been adjudicated upon accordingly. But as matters stand, it would appear based on the submissions that allegations of wrongdoing occurred within the department. So Fabkomp there was nothing that that pointed out to any alleged wrongfulness or fraudulent conduct on the side of Fabkomp.
All right. And what about within the department? What about government officials who awarded this tender when, according to reports, I mean, we can all see that these don't meet the requirements to be an ambulance. What if someone needs to be lying down, needs to be hooked up to machinery, needs emergency help, is old and struggles to get in there? So will anybody be held to account?
Well, our understanding and our observation throughout the proceedings was that allegations of wrongdoing occurred within the department, and we were at a point wherein actually, as we were adjudicating, did observe that the member of the executive at the time and the head of the department, as well as the chief financial officer, being the first, second, and third respondents respectively, ought to have taken responsibility. But now, that is not necessarily the call of the tribunal to make, but it is our understanding that the wrongdoing occurred within the department, and I think it will be in the best interest of those who are in charge, the incumbent, to make to take full responsibility and correct where there have been irregularities.
Yeah. So you mean the tribunal cannot say these officials are guilty of trying to, you say no money's been paid, but trying to waste taxpayers' money. Nobody can really be named and shamed even or told to account.
Well, there should be consequences. That is our point of departure. But now, since our statutory mandate precisely looks into wrongdoing, we follow the money. So we found that in this case, there was no money that was spent. But then our expectation is that the current leadership of the Department of Health in the Eastern Cape should take responsibility and should be able to discipline whoever has been found wanting.
But Advocate, is that likely? The MEC of Health was there being driven around in the scooters when they were unveiled, including the National Minister of Health.
We saw that, we saw the visuals, but that was not part of the evidence before the tribunal. The main evidence was that money has not been spent. That is where our main focal area was. And also there was an order to the effect that the department should be interdicted from making any further payment. So the department must then go and look into the officials and take appropriate corrective measures.
All right, we understand. Okay, so you're saying you went as far as you could because no money changed hands. We'll see if we can find out what's going to happen about the officials that signed off this tender that has now been declared unlawful. That was the spokesperson for the Special Tribunal, Advocate Selby Makgato. Thank you very much for being with us.